That should be better. I had myself on mute then. Thank you both, Joseph and Spartans, for telling me. That's off to a good start, isn't it? I was basically saying that unfortunately I'm no longer able to be joined by Sam on this one. He's had to rush into work in a bit of an emergency. So he's got 2 French Bulldogs at home. I'm pointing in the wrong direction. So I've replaced him with a French Bulldog for the purposes of the stream. Yeah, I did all the graphics with like the 2 of us on a screen together. It's just the way I have to do it. So, and I didn't have time to redo them after he said he couldn't make it. So you're stuck with a French Bulldog instead of Sam, I'm afraid. Usual sort of stuff to go through this week. I'll go through all the fixtures ahead of the game week. Game week 28 it is now in Sky. I get a bit confused with the game week numbers because they're different in every fantasy game I play. So yeah, go through the fixtures, some stats, some Twitter questions, and I think we've got some fixtures like gains that Sam and I had spotted that I want to point out as well. So let's get right into it, shall we? Hello to Joseph, Spartans, and Peter, by the way, and thank you for telling me that there was no audio. I thought I was being clever by having myself on mute throughout the intro, so you didn't hear me, and then I forgot to unmute it when I started the stream. So, classic. Right, so to start things off, so I just can't help but laugh at the bulldog below me. So starting off, we've got some fixtures, obviously, on Saturday. So West Ham at home to Chelsea, Southampton Wolves, Leicester Tottenham, Fulham Forest, Palace Brighton, Arsenal Brentford, and Bournemouth Newcastle. I was watching the 3-for-1 pod earlier in the week, and they were talking about just how many good fixtures there are on this day for captaincy. I think for me, though, Harry Kane is probably the standout of that lot. He's got, not that it means much, I don't think you should read too much into records against clubs or what have you, but Harry Kane has a fantastic record against Leicester. So I've got to think that he's probably the best captain, and I think he'll do pretty well against Leicester too, because I don't think they've been conceding too many goals, Leicester, but they just look so ropey at the back. So I really do back Kane to do well against them. And then on Sunday, we've got Leeds, Man United, Man City, Aston Villa. I think if you get any speculation that Haaland won't be in the team, then I think it's Rashford captain. But if not, I think Haaland, obviously, against Villa is a great captaincy. And just a thought on Man City, really. I do think this whole financial shenanigans is going to have an impact on them. I think it's impossible for them to ignore the situations. Yeah, and for players to just plead ignorant to it. So I do think it's going to have an impact. Exactly how big an impact, I'm not sure. But yeah, I think on the pitch we're going to see something from City. What I will say on the contrary is they just have to win all their games now, which makes me think that they're going to play what I think should be their strongest 11. He's been mixing up the back four and the midfield too much for me, Pep. I just think he needs to stick with a consistent back four that just keeps clean sheets. So he needs to go for Ederson, Walker, Laporte, Diaz and Ake at the back. Rodri, all the key players need to keep playing games. Obviously, the front three are a bit interchangeable with, obviously, Haaland being number one, but I just don't see another way Man City claw this league back. And they do have to go for games as well. It's my general point I made in my FPL videos this week. Man City just have to go out and try and beat all these teams they play to even stand a chance of clawing back the gap. And then on Monday the 13th, we've got Liverpool against Everton. I've got Salah, and I'm not too happy to have him, really. Obviously, with this single coming up, it sort of makes sense to keep him, but he's been absolutely woeful in terms of fantasy points recently. And to be honest, if I didn't have a player for this game, I'd almost be of the right mind to just skip it completely. The only plus point I'd say for these teams is they do have fixture gains over Newcastle, so you could remove a Newcastle player for a captain on Monday, potentially. But yeah, I think I would skip it if it was me and I didn't have a player. And then Arsenal, Man City on Wednesday. I think, again, you've got to go for Haaland just for how good he's been this season. But I do think you could potentially captain, an Arsenal, Nketiah, Odegaard or Saka to be a bit different. Because I do think the team more likely to score in this game is actually Arsenal. I think the Arsenal defence is better than Man City's. And yeah, I just think Akanji and Ake together as a back two, they can be got at. And I do think that Arsenal could score in that game if that's the team that Man City go with. So I think that covers us for the fixtures. Yeah, next up was just a view of the clean sheet odds from my friends at Draft Hound. I can't remember exactly how the fixtures correlate between FPL and Sky in terms of the number of games in a game week, if that makes sense. Because obviously some teams here, Man City and Arsenal, have the double, but actually it looks like it correlates exactly. So I won't go through them all, but this is just a view of the clean sheet odds. So top of the list is actually Man City, certainly for that first fixture. 55% clean sheet odds against Villa. Then you've got Arsenal with 52% against Brentford. Then it goes Liverpool, 52% again against Everton. Not sure how much I stick behind those figures, but the bookies and algorithms still seem to be backing Liverpool to keep clean sheets. Then you've got Newcastle with what I say was their final decent fixture against Bournemouth, Brighton, Chelsea, Fulham, Wolves, Man United, Southampton, and probably an outside chance there for Spurs to keep a clean sheet against Leicester. I'd say anything below 30% you can't really bank on a clean sheet for. But yeah, that's just a view of the clean sheet odds. Excuse me, I'm just going to have to blow my nose. I've got a bit of a cold coming on. Next up was the fixture game that I was talking about. So I've pulled off the first table you see there in white from FF Stuff, and then below are the clean sheet odds from Draft Hound week on week. So as you can see, this week's clean sheet odds for Man City look really good, and they do for the remainder of the next 4 or 5 weeks really. The reason I pointed this out is that Man City have a 6-2 over Newcastle starting on Sunday. And Newcastle's 2 fixtures in that mix are Liverpool and Man City, where they have a 20% and 11% chance of keeping a clean sheet. So that says to me that Newcastle to a Man City player is quite a sensible transfer. The only thing is with Man City, obviously, there's no defender at the moment that you could say is absolutely nailed, but I would suggest maybe going like Trippier to Akanji. Akanji's at least going to play like 4 of these 6 at minimum. Or you could just go for Rodri, who's probably going to play them all. If you don't already have Rodri, I really like the idea of going for something like Trippier to Rodri. But yeah, the Man On podcast actually did a great analysis of all the fixture gains that can be had on Newcastle. I've simply pulled out what I think is my favourite, which is Newcastle to Man City for the 6-2. But yeah, check out the Man On podcast. I'm pretty sure they did a more in-depth analysis of all the fixture gains there actually are. But for me, I'm just picking my favourite and going Newcastle to Man City. What do we have up next? It was just a view actually of the ownership for each of the team's defences in the top 1K. So this is a view of the top 1K that I think I took on Wednesday. I think I took this screenshot. So Newcastle, Arsenal, Man City sort of dominating the top teams. The average player in the top 1K has got 1.8 Newcastle defenders. So basically if you've got less than 2, you're hoping for them to concede. Arsenal's owned by 111% of managers. That means sort of even with one, you're actually hoping for them to concede because the ownership's slightly higher. And then Man City's only on 56%. I think that will go up given the fixture gain to be had on Newcastle. And you probably need to, by the end of this game week, have at least one Man City defender in order to benefit from a clean sheet. That sort of makes sense anyway, doesn't it? One defender to benefit from a clean sheet. It's probably going to be a couple, sorry. But can you actually predict 2 to start? Not entirely sure. But yeah, the key thing for me is I've got Pope in goal at the moment, like I imagine most players do. So I think I'll be going for him to Edison. And then I'm not sure what to do with Trippier because he's quite a bit cheaper than Rodri and I can't make the straight swap. So I'll have to have a think about that. But I definitely think I'll be getting rid of both Pope and Trippier for that 6-2. I think it makes absolute sense to do that. And then just a view of the average remaining transfers. I think this image is nearly a week old now, to be fair, from when I took this screenshot. But in the top 10, we've got 11.6 left. Top 100, 13.9. The top 1,000's on 18 on average. And the top 5,000's on 19.5. Certainly, I'm not having the best of seasons from my standards. I'm in probably the 4,000th, but I have 30 transfers left, which is substantially more than other players in my position by the looks of it. Obviously, I know that there are other players, namely Paul McNulty is the most prominent I can think of, as well as David Baxter, who's top of our mini league at the moment, who are both in really good positions in the top 100 with plenty of transfers left. So I definitely don't think I can win Sky, but I'd like to think I've still got potential of a decent finish. Top 100 at a push, but yeah, I definitely think I can come within the top 500 with the amount of transfers I've got. But yeah, just a view of the average remaining transfers. And then there was just a quick update on the Golden Goal Mini League. So David Baxter, as I mentioned, is top, followed by Shane White, who also won the Sky Fantasy World Cup game. He's got 2 teams that are right in the mix there. Good going, Shane, and obviously David number 1, even greater going. Dean Hicks in 4th, Ewan in 5th, Martin in 6th, Tim Barry in 7th, Glenn Murray in 8th, Daniel Burton in 9th, and a famous name, Ian Parron, in 10th. And I think that's the stats from last week. So what I was going to do is quickly trawl through some Twitter questions, because that's all the content I had to show. Just going to see if we had any Twitter questions. And feel free, by the way, if you're in the chat, feel free to ask me any questions you've got, and I shall answer them. I feel like this one's going to be a bit of a short one today, but yeah, still felt it was worth going live anyway to chat to people. Just trying to find where the Twitter questions have come in. Yeah, Sam's looking pretty rough, isn't he, Spartans? Oh yeah, by the way, if you've just joined the stream and wondered why I'm joined by a French bulldog, unfortunately Sam's had to rush back to work in a bit of an emergency. Nothing serious or anything. I think one of his colleagues' car broke down or something. But he's got some French bulldogs at home, so I've replaced him with a French bulldog for the purposes of the stream, because I didn't have time to redo the graphics with just me on my own in a box. So yeah, we've had to do it together. SkyFF Jake asks, does the Everton defence interest you? Fixture volume is coming up is crazy compared to a team like United. For me, I don't really think I can trust the Everton defence. I know they've won one game under Dyche against Arsenal. I don't think that's a big enough sample size for me to be buying their players. The only one I'd consider is Jordan Pickford, because he's the only one that gets sort of regular bonus. But the rest of them I'm not interested in, and I think you should just go for the cheaper Man City defenders. And I think Arsenal have equal sort of fixture congestion, and I think their defenders are also reasonably priced and are better than Everton's. More of a statement, I think, from SkyFF Wilson, but just saying that he'd like to move from KDB to Saka, but as they both keep playing on the same day, when is the point to make the move? If KDB doesn't start the single game day, that would help. Yeah, indeed, that would help. I don't actually think I have a fixture for you to show you, but yeah, I mean, maybe on one of these days you're just going to have to pull the trigger and change it if you really want to go from KDB to Saka. I would suggest really the only true value in doing that, because I think they'll score similar points, despite KDB not doing too well post the World Cup. But I think in the long run he'll get back to decent form. The reason I would do it is if it enabled me another move in my team. Like if I had like Trippier to a Man City defender planned or something like that, that would make more sense to me. And it's a move that I'd actually consider myself in order to bring in more Man City players for my current Newcastle lot. Hopefully that helps. It doesn't really give you an exact date, but I don't think there's a right answer to that one. Like you say, they keep playing on the same day. Mitch is saying he's thinking of going for 3 Man City defenders plus Edison to max the 6 for 2. Who would you go for? Thinking Ake, Akanji, and then question mark. Cheers, guys. Well, thank you, Mitch. I'm really not sure. I think Edison, Akanji, and Ake are the most nailed three at the moment. I mean, Akanji, I think, has started all but one Premier League game so far this season. Despite, I don't actually know how good Akanji is. I'm not entirely trusting of him. I think the only one other than that you can consider is Walker, but he's probably not going to play every game either. So maybe maxing out on the Man City players is like limited at 3, because there's only 3 you can really expect to play regularly. So the 3 of Ederson, Ake and Akanji, and then I think that's as much as you can pick. Because even if there is a 6 for 2 between Newcastle and Man City, if you go for someone like Walker, if he only plays half the games, then it's a 2 for 3. It doesn't make sense at all. So a 3 for 2, sorry, it doesn't make sense at all. So I think the 3 of Akanji, Ake and Ederson is probably the way to go. And then maybe if you don't already have him, he's not a defender, but going for Rodri, I think, is a really good shout, because he seems to be nailed in playing really consistently. But other than that, that's all I can really say on that. Michael Haaland is saying Trippier to who? He's got 2.6 in the bank, so can buy pretty much any defender after Saturday. Like I said, mate, if you don't already have Rodri, I think Rodri is actually a better asset than most of these Man City defenders at the moment. Purely because I think he gets the starts and just as many passes, and tackles come in there as well. Obviously, he doesn't have the upside of clean sheets, but he's not immune to scoring the odd goal here and there. And I just think he's absolutely nailed. So I think I would go Trippier to Rodri if I didn't already have Rodri. And then I'd put Akanji in second, and then probably Ake in third, just as I said for Mitch. I think Akanji's probably more nailed than Ake, and Rodri's more nailed than the two of them. That would be my view. I think I had one more question in there somewhere. I think that's my lot on Twitter. Please, sorry if I've missed your question. I think that covers everything. Ross Henderson's asking Pope, Shah and Trippier to Ederson, Akanji and Saliba after Bournemouth. Thoughts? Yeah, I really like it, mate. I don't have the fixtures to hand to tell you the exact game that Arsenal have over Newcastle, but I think it's must be similar to the Man City game. Might, instead of being a 6 for 2, it might be a 6 for 3 or something like that. But yeah, I absolutely love that. And it's probably a point for Mitch, actually, if he's watching this back, is that maybe you could dip into the Arsenal defence as well instead of the Man City one. A combination of Arsenal and Man City defence, obviously the two strongest defences in the league. I think that's a really decent fixture game. Yeah, I really like that, Ross. How should I play the 2 Fulham single match days if I already have 3 forwards and don't want to transfer them out to get Mitrovic? Or shall we see who their opponents are? Let's have a quick look. Oh, sneezing again. Hang on. Oh, basically, I'm a quite a keen swimmer, and I go like multiple times a week. One of the pools that I swim in last night, like the chlorine content was unbelievable, and it's completely wiped me out today. I've got a massive head cold resulting from it, so apologies for that. I was looking at the Fulham fixtures, wasn't I? So yeah, having words with the lifeguards for cranking up the chlorine. Wolves at home and Brentford away. Oh, I wish it was another 2 singles against Chelsea. Have you got Polinia? I mean, honestly, I think I'd just captain Polinia or buy him for someone else if you want to cover those 2 singles. I mean, that's going to be my plan. I don't think I can make a case for picking Mitrovic. So Polina, if you wanted to cover them, or maybe you could skip. I don't know. This is me in my head. I also think it's too far in advance to be worrying about the yellow cards that Polina has, because you'll be making the transfer on the 24th. I think he can survive till the 24th. That's saying he's going to get booked in every game he plays up until the first single. Yeah, I think I'd trust Polini up until that point, because you can. I think that'd be my view. It's a very difficult one, actually. But yeah, I mean, I don't think you need to be making any transfer decisions until the 24th, Spartans. So yeah, for me, I'd wait until the 24th, see what situation Polini is in. If he's still on his 8 yellows, then he's got those 2 games before he gets a ban to score you points in. And if he's on 9, things might change. Maybe you could go for Leno, the goalkeeper. What's he doing for points? Other than that, I think it could well be a skip. Yeah, he doesn't really get many saves. So I think it's Polini or skip for me at the moment in my mind. I'll just check one more time if we've got any more questions. Feel free to fire some away in the chat. But I think I'm running out of content, to be honest. I'll end it soon. That's quite alright, Spartan. Sorry it's not a straight answer. It is quite a difficult decision, isn't it, I think? Probably one just to play on the day. No, I don't think we had any more Twitter questions. Living French Bulldog. Alright, thanks everyone for watching. Yeah, if you're watching the stream, please leave a like rating if you enjoyed and found it useful. We'll hopefully both be back next week for some Sky Chat. Sorry you've just had to look at my ugly mug for the whole time. But hopefully we'll get Sam back on next week. He's, like I said, it was just a work emergency, and hopefully he'll be back next week. And yeah, me and the French Bulldog will see you in the next stream. In a bit, everyone. I'll play my outro so it looks professional. Whoosh.